edXL Physical Education 2015 paper. Question 1. Which one of the following is a leadership role in physical activity? Player, manager, linesman, secretary. Manager. B. Which component of fitness can be tested using the equipment shown in figure 1? Power, coordination, cardiovascular fitness, flexibility. Coordination. Part C. The FIT principle is a principle of training. Which part of the FIT principle overlaps with the principle of specificity? Type, time, frequency, intensity. Frequency means the number of times you take part in the exercise. Intensity means the amount of weight you're lifting or the speed that you're running. Time is the duration of the exercise, and type is the type of sport being undertaken. Specificity means also similar to type because it's basing the training around certain muscles, certain skills, certain energy systems. So the one that overlaps would be here type. Part D. When should a PAR-Q be completed? PAR-Q stands for Physical Activity Readiness Questionnaire. At the end of an exercise session, after a warm-up, but before beginning the main session, before planning a personal exercise program, or at the end of a playing session. The PAR-Q needs to be filled out before you begin planning the PEP. E. Target zones are used to make sure training is at the correct intensity. Which line on the graph shows the upper training threshold for a 20-year-old? For this question, we need to understand that the training threshold is between 60 and 80% of your maximum heart rate. It says that the athlete is 20 years old, therefore 220 minus your age gives them a maximum heart rate of 200. Looking at the options, line A 90%, line B 80%, C 70%, D 60%. The upper line here is line B, 80% of the maximum heart rate. Part F. Which category of performance-enhancing drugs would an Olympic weightlifter take to increase the weight they can lift? Beta blockers, narcotic analgesics, stimulants, peptide hormones. For this question, the obvious answer of anabolic steroids has not been included in the choice provided, which makes it harder than the other multiple choice questions. Beta blockers, we know, can lower your heart rate and is used in sports such as snooker and archery to calm the nerves and control focus. Narcotic analgesics are drugs taken to mask pain of injury so that perhaps an athlete can continue to play despite having an injured knee or ankle. Stimulants, we know, increase aggression and reactions, often used by sprinters to get a faster start in the 100 meters, but possibly other athletes use it to increase their aggression and reactions. Peptide hormones, generally we're looking at sports where you need more red blood cells to increase the oxygen delivery to the muscles. Because our obvious choice of anabolic steroids is not present, the next most suitable answer would be peptide hormones, and that therefore is the correct answer to this question. G. Which one of the following categories of drugs would a performer take to mask the presence of other drugs in their body? Diuretics, narcotic analgesics, stimulants, anabolic steroids. Diuretics can reduce your body weight because they make you lose water from your body, and consequently they can also mask other drugs being discovered in the body. So diuretics is the correct answer. H. Cholesterol is often measured as part of a health check. Which one of the following is a correct statement about cholesterol? An increase in fat will only increase HDL, high density lipoprotein levels. That's incorrect because it will also increase low density lipoprotein levels. Regular aerobic activity has no effect on cholesterol levels. also incorrect. As we know, exercise will certainly help our cholesterol levels. Correct diet can improve cholesterol levels, that's true. And at the bottom, high levels of LDL are preferable to high levels of HDL. Actually, it's the opposite way round. It's better to have high density lipoprotein, as this is the good cholesterol. Therefore, the correct answer to this question is C. I. Alcohol is a recreational drug. Which one of the following is an effect of alcohol on the cardiovascular system? Alcohol increases oxygen depth. Alcohol decreases lung volume. Alcohol increases blood pressure. Alcohol lowers blood pressure. C. J. Which one of the following describes vital capacity? The maximum amount of air you can forcibly breathe in and out per breath. Correct. The total amount of air you breathe in during normal breathing would be known as tidal volume. The maximum amount of blood ejected from your heart per minute is the cardiac output. The total amount of blood you need during exercise is irrelevant. We don't have a term for that. Question 2. Participation in physical activity can bring about many health benefits. Serotonin levels increase when we take part in physical activity. Briefly explain why an increase in serotonin is a health benefit. Serotonin gives us the feel-good factor. It is a mental benefit and helps to relieve stress. In this question, I've explained why it is a health benefit, because health incorporates physical, social and mental benefits, and also given an example because it's asked me to explain. Part B. Joe has a disability and has recently started to play wheelchair rugby. Complete the following statement. Joe has a lot of new friends at his rugby club. This is a social benefit of physical activity, chosen from the three options: mental, physical, social, related to health. Part 2 asks you to explain how starting to play rugby at a club could increase Joe's self-esteem. For this question, we must use a developed statement and link our answer together to explain why the self-esteem is improved from playing at a rugby club. For questions that state that you must explain, you must link your answer together. Therefore, I've given a reason. It will lead to a sense of achievement. I've explained this. This is because he will improve his fitness. And finally, I will say what the consequence of that will be. Therefore, he will feel better about himself. Part C of the question. The statements in the table below give reasons why Joe and his friends joined the rugby club. For each reason, identify the key influence. Whenever we see a key influence question, we know that the subject they're talking about is related to the topic that we studied with the acronym CHIRPS: cultural, health, image, resources, people and socioeconomic influences why we may take part in sport. Joe started to play rugby because his friends did falls into the people category. Joe's friends found out about the rugby club from an advert in the local newspaper falls into the image category. Joe started to play rugby because the club was close to his home falls into the resources category. Question 3. There are many different initiatives in sport that are designed to increase participation in physical activity. Name one agency that helps to provide opportunities to increase participation in physical activity. Here we can select either Sport England, or we could go with the Youth Sport Trust. Part B. Some initiatives focus on priority groups. Describe how an initiative to increase participation could improve the physical health of priority groups. A priority group is any group that may be considered less likely to participate in sport. For example, disabled people. If they are to take part in physical activity, then they will improve their cardiovascular fitness. Therefore, they will have less chance of coronary heart disease. Part C. Some initiatives are developed to increase participation by providing opportunities to become or remain involved in physical activity. Describe another common purpose of initiatives. Provide opportunity for talented performers to succeed in sport. This can be done through centres of excellence. This way they can reach the very highest level. Question 4. Figure 3 shows a gymnast during her routine on the balance beam. Briefly explain how the gymnast has used power and coordination to achieve the position shown in Figure 3. Once again, because the question says explain, we must state what the facts are and give a reason why or example to gain both of the marks in the question. First part, power. Power is a combination of speed and strength. Power is a combination of speed and strength. This allows the gymnast to push off and jump high. This allows her enough time in the air to perform the movement. This will give you both marks of the question. Coordination. Coordination is using two or more body parts together. The gymnast must land with both legs to perform the movement well. Part B. Give an example of when the gymnast shown in Figure 3 would need good reaction time in the routine. If she was to make a mistake in the air, she would have to change her decision about when to put her feet down and land carefully. So the answer here would be if a mistake is made. Part C. Participation in physical activity involves some risk of injury. Identify a risk associated with gymnastics and how to reduce this risk. Here there is a number of different answers we can have to gain the marks, but the risk that we choose and how to reduce the risk must be linked together. For example, we could have a risk of muscle strain. For example, pulling a hamstring, and how to reduce this risk could be to warm up thoroughly and stretch muscles. Alternatively, we could have injuries such as a fracture from a poor landing, and a way to reduce this risk would be to put down mats or chalk the hands. Question 5. Ben and Jake are cross-country runners. They both take part in a series of fitness tests. After completing the Harvard step test, Ben recovers to his resting heart rate quicker than Jake. Briefly explain why a quicker recovery rate would be an advantage during a cross-country race. As the question has asked us to explain, we must link our answer together. A quicker recovery rate certainly indicates that you have a better cardiovascular fitness. This means that you will not need to slow down. Therefore, you can run faster for longer. The point has been developed and explained. B. Which component of fitness is being tested by the Harvard STEP test? Cardiovascular fitness or cardiovascular endurance? C. Give one reason why this may be a good test to assess the fitness for cross-country. Well, the Harvard STEP test will be assessing cardiovascular fitness and will predict how fit you are in order to complete the cross-country to its requirements. D. Give one reason why this may not be a good test to assess fitness for cross-country. Because the Harvard STEP test involves stepping up and down for a short amount of time to predict a fitness. However, it does not involve running over different terrains, up and down hills, for example, as you would in cross-country. So this is a possible reason why it wouldn't perhaps be the best test to be sure if somebody was going to do well in a cross-country. Question 6. Elite sports performers make sure they eat a balanced diet. Briefly explain the importance of carbohydrates and protein to an elite sports performer. Once again, the question has asked us to explain. Therefore, we need to give reasons for our answer. Carbohydrates provide us with energy. This is enough to give you one of the marks. To explain this, we must develop our answer. This allows the sports performer to keep going for longer without tiring. Both of the marks have been obtained. For protein, protein is needed for growth and repair of the muscles. This provides us with the first mark of the question. In order to gain the second mark, we must explain this point. This allows the sports performer to recover from their training quicker and develop their strength. Question 7. Adriana is a basketball player. Due to the lack of time, she often eats her dinner just before playing basketball. Explain why eating a large meal just before exercise might have a negative effect on performance. This question is about blood shunting, and we should know this because they've spoke about somebody eating a lot just before they play sport. Because the question states that we must explain, we need to link our answer together. This is due to blood shunting. This means that the blood is shunted to the stomach when we eat food. When we begin to exercise, the blood is then shunted to the working muscles. This leaves insufficient blood in the stomach to fully digest the food. Question 8. 3 extreme body types are listed below. For each of the body types, name a sporting activity where this body type would be an advantage. You must name a different sporting activity for each body type. For this question, it's best to go with the more obvious answers and sports examples. The mesomorph is a more muscular build and would be better for anaerobic explosive sports such as the 100-meter sprint. The endomorph is a build with more fat, much bigger build, and the most obvious example would be go with sumo wrestling. Ectomorph is somebody who carries a lot less fat and less muscle, tends to be tall and thin. The best examples to go with anything with long distance or endurance. Here I've put cycling to be sure that I've got a different sporting activity for each body type. But you could equally gain marks on this particular question for saying long distance running or marathon. Question 9. Amy is warming up in preparation for a tennis match. During her warm-up, Amy's heart rate and breathing rate increase. Explain why it is important that Amy's heart rate and breathing rate increase. Here we should note that we must explain our answer. It is important because she needs to get more oxygen to her muscles and remove carbon dioxide. The breathing rate needs to increase to get more oxygen into the body. The heart rate must increase to pump the oxygenated blood to the muscles. Part B. An increase in heart rate will increase cardiac output. How else can the heart increase cardiac output? Through increasing the stroke volume. This is because stroke volume times the heart rate equals the cardiac output. What is the immediate effect of exercise on systolic blood pressure? It will increase. Question 10. Figure 4 shows a javelin thrower. Identify the joint action at the elbow in the performance figure 4 as they move from position A to position B. Position A shows that the elbow is bent, showing the movement at the elbow joint as flexion, and position B shows that the javelin thrower has straightened their arm, showing that the movement has moved to extension. Therefore, the correct answer from A to B is flexion to extension. Part B. Identify the type of muscle contraction as the performer's throwing arm moves from position A to position B. Any question in your paper about muscle contraction is talking about the difference between an isotonic moving contraction and an isometric still static contraction. Here, to throw the javelin, it's clearly a moving contraction, and therefore we term this isotonic. Part C. Describe the role of the muscles in the upper arm in moving the arm from position A to position B, as shown in figure 4. Here, role of the muscles, we know that this question is talking about antagonistic muscle pairs, and we need to give a good explanation of this because the question's worth 3 marks. The muscles involved in this contraction are the biceps and the triceps. They must work together as an antagonistic pair. To throw the javelin, the tricep must contract and is the agonist. The bicep relaxes and is the antagonist. This causes extension at the elbow. Part D. Name a joint injury that could affect a performer's ability to throw the javelin. There's a number of joint injuries we can choose from: tennis elbow, golfer's elbow, sprain, dislocation, or torn cartilage at the elbow. For this question, we're going to go with a sprain. Question 11. Our health and fitness and level of exercise can all affect our ability to lead a healthy, active lifestyle. Use an example to explain how poor physical health can affect the performance in physical activity. For this question, we need to explain, and therefore we need to link our answer. A linked explanation that gives an example of poor health, the impact that this will have, and the reason for the impact is going to gain you all 3 marks. Having a high cholesterol means that you can't work for as hard for as long. This is because the oxygen delivery to the muscles is reduced. Identifying high cholesterol was the example. Then the impact would be that you can't work for as long in a sport. And the consequence or the reason for this impact is because the oxygen delivery to the muscles has been reduced. Part B. Ty and Aaron both play hockey. Cardiovascular fitness and flexibility are 2 components of health-related exercise that are needed when playing hockey. Briefly explain why Ty and Aaron need high levels of cardiovascular fitness and flexibility to perform well in their sport. For this, we need to say why they would need cardiovascular fitness and how it is going to benefit them in their sport of hockey. The first point is gained from stating that hockey is a long game and you need to keep running for a long time, and that's why you need cardiovascular fitness. But then to gain the second mark, you need to explain this. So this means that the performance level can still be good even at the end or towards the end of the match. Flexibility. The first mark is gained from stating that flexibility helps the player to have a high range of movement, and then to explain this, I've given an example of how that might help someone in hockey. This means that they will be able to reach for a pass that is far away from them. Part 2, identify another component of health-related exercise that is required when playing hockey. We've already used cardiovascular fitness and flexibility, so the remaining health-related fitness components would be muscular strength, muscular endurance, or body composition, so we can choose any of them. Clearly you would need muscular strength in hockey for hitting the hockey ball hard or for tackling a player with good strength. Next part, Ty plays for the girls' first team and Aaron plays for the boys' second team. Ty also plays for a team outside of school. State 2 reasons why Ty and Aaron's school coach applies the principle of individual differences to their personal exercise program. Here the questions asked us just to state, so we don't need to give long explanations, but we do need to say why individual differences is important for both of their PEPs. We can see already that they play in different teams, so perhaps they have a different level of fitness or a different ability, and also everybody's PEP should be different because it must take into account their own individual needs, their own health issues, medical needs, and baseline starting levels. So we just need to pick two differences. I've started with an introduction. Circuit training could well be a good method of training to improve performance in games. Next follows a developed statement. Circuit training can be adapted so that the stations are beneficial to the sport being trained for. This means that stations can focus on certain muscles or skills needed for that sport. For example, a footballer could do squats to increase quadricep strength and keep-ups to improve ball control. The next developed statement. The circuit will have intense periods and also rest intervals. This matches the requirements of a sports match. For example, sprinting for the ball and then jogging back into position. Again, another developed statement. Circuit training can work on the cardiovascular fitness. This is important as a games player needs to have a high level of fitness throughout a long match. For example, a footballer may do a 90-minute circuit to replicate match fitness. The next developed statement gives a balance to the question and an argument against why circuit training would possibly be the best method for a games player. However, other types of training may be even more beneficial to the games player. Fartlek training matches the varying intensities of a match. This may be more effective as a footballer needs to run, jog, and sprint for a long period. Finally, a conclusion to summarize the thoughts and give a balance to the argument. Overall, circuit training is very good for the games player, as all circuits can be adapted to suit the needs of a player. However, some training methods such as fartlek or interval training may have a bigger impact on match fitness.